Yo, what's happening? It's Coach Brandon, and inside of this video, I am going to be explaining the top 4 reasons why cardio is a waste of time for fat loss. And also at the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you 6 bottom line key takeaways of what you can do with the information that I'm going to be sharing in this video. So before we dive into it, I just want to give you a little bit of my own personal experience with cardio, with doing cardio and not doing cardio. So back when I was trying really hard to get lean and muscular and jacked and transform my physique, but struggling with it because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know what to believe, I actually did for about 4 or 5 years consistently spend a lot of time doing cardio. And the reason why is just simply because I was convinced that in order to get the physique that I wanted, I would need to do cardio, and doing cardio was just simply mandatory, okay? So I tried all different types of cardio, and I tried them all like consistently as well to figure out whether or not they actually worked, right? You need to do something consistently in order to know if it actually works or not. So I did HIIT cardio, so 20 to 25 minute HIIT cardio sessions. And when I say HIIT cardio, I mean proper HIIT cardio. So most guys, they do not do, when they do HIIT cardio, the high intensity intervals that they do aren't intense enough for it to actually be considered HIIT cardio. For me, that wasn't the case. I was going really hard. I was sweating buckets and like basically borderline dying at the end of my HIIT cardio sessions. So I did HIIT cardio. I tried low intensity cardio sessions where I would make sure that my heart rate stayed between 160 and 180 beats per minute, which is what like I thought was like the fat burning zone, because there's a lot of BS out there on that. I did fasted cardio. First thing in the morning, I would go do my cardio on an empty stomach in the gym, 20 to 30 minute sessions. 2, 3, 4 times per week. And then I've also just done just simply like leisurely stuff. So like I played hockey for a few years, just like once a week. And I did Muay Thai for about a year, 2 years as well, 2, 3 times a week, which is pretty like intense cardio. So today, and for like the past 4 or 5 years, I have not done any like formal cardio as part of my training program at all. Aside from the cardio that I do now is basically I try to get outside and go for walks, go out longboarding and do bike rides and stuff like that. So it's never actually part of like my fitness program. I'm not doing it to try to get into shape. I'm just doing it because it makes me feel good and it's just a good habit to have. And obviously in the past 4 or 5 years, that's when I've produced the best results when it comes to my physique. And this is all based on the reason that I decided to stop doing the cardio is all based on research that I'm going to be going over and showing you guys. I'm going to be going over 3 different studies in this video, and I'll be posting links to even more studies than that in the description of this video. So all of that being said, I'm not anti-cardio, right? I used to think that cardio was important. I used to do a lot of it. I simply feel like it's a waste of time and it sucks now just because I tried it for a long time and it clearly wasn't a game changer when it comes to producing results, because now I haven't been doing it for the last 4 or 5 years and I'm leaner and more muscular than I've ever been, right? So the main principle when it comes to cardio, and the reason why, like the main reason why it's a waste of time for most people, is because at the end of the day, weight loss is determined by energy balance, right? So calories in, calories out. So it does not matter how much cardio you do. It doesn't matter how intense your cardio sessions are. It doesn't matter if you do it fasted. It doesn't matter if you're in the fat burning zone and you keep your heart rate elevated for a certain period of time. If you consume more energy than you burn, or an equal amount of energy that you burn, so you eat at maintenance, you're not going to lose any weight. You're not going to lose any body fat. Okay, that's an irrefutable fact. The law of thermodynamics, just like gravity, states that what goes up must come down, right? If you want to lose body fat, you have to eat in a calorie deficit. Not just eat in a calorie deficit, you have to be in a calorie deficit, right? So Aside from that, there are no other magical fat burning effects of cardio. And that's kind of what I thought. And I think that's what a lot of people, they sort of have that idea that cardio like magically burns fat. It doesn't unless it contributes to your calorie deficit. Okay. So all that being said, let's get into the 4 reasons why cardio sucks for fat loss. So the first reason why cardio sucks for fat loss is because simply just reducing your calorie intake, your food intake, is just as effective as reducing your calorie intake and doing cardio for achieving a deficit, right? So you can either just eat less or you can eat less and move more, but it's best to rely only on eating less. It's just easier, right? It takes about an hour of, moderate intensity cardio to burn about 300 calories. And 300 calories is maybe like, 3-4 tablespoons of peanut butter, a couple handfuls of almonds, candy, that kind of thing. So it's a lot easier just to not eat that much food than it is to do an entire hour of cardio. I'm sure you would agree, right? So I'm actually also going to show you a study to kind of that proves this. So in this study, basically what they did is they compared guys who achieved their calorie deficit via 50% energy restriction, calorie restriction. So that's the CR that you see there, and 50% exercise. So right here, 12.5% calorie restriction, 12.5% exercise. And then they compared that with people who just restricted calories. So that's just CR, so 25% calorie restriction. And then this is 25% energy deficit as well when you combine the 12.5% calorie restriction and 12.5% deficit achieved by exercise, right? And then they also compared that with people who did a low calorie diet. And I believe the diet was about 800 and 900 calories. So a very, very low calorie diet. But anyway, as you can see here, the people who did calorie restriction in combination with exercise lost the exact same, pretty much the exact same amount of weight as the people who just restricted calories. Okay. And as you can see, the low calorie diet lost the most weight by far, but the exact same calorie deficit, they achieved so there's no difference between if you achieve your deficit with cardio or calorie restriction and exercise versus just calorie restriction. And that's what that study is showing, right? There's no difference if you do cardio and eat in a calorie deficit versus just simply achieve your calorie deficit through calorie restriction. There's going to be no difference, right? Now you might be thinking, well, if I do both, that is going to make it more likely for my calorie deficit to be bigger. Well, yeah, but you can still just reduce your calories more via eating, which is going to be easier than having to spend, a couple hours a week doing cardio, right? And as you can see, the low calorie diet group in this study proved that because they ate in a huge deficit and they lost the most weight, which is not really recommended, but we won't get really into that in this video. Okay, so that's reason number 1, pretty simple. Just simply reducing your calorie intake by eating less is just as effective as both reducing your calorie intake and doing cardio, and it's probably easier as well. There's less variables, right? Okay, so the second reason why cardio sucks for fat loss is because if cardio is all you do to achieve your calorie deficit, what you're going to end up doing is unconsciously compensating by eating more and moving less. Okay, so this is a very common occurrence that I see when I get someone who reaches out to me who's interested in my coaching because they're struggling. One of the main reasons why these people are struggling is because they're not trying to manipulate their diet. All they're trying to do is add cardio, add exercise to lose weight. And that is extremely ineffective. And I actually have a study that proves this as well. I actually made my own graphic to show you how this sort of works. Here is your daily energy expenditure. It's broken up into 4 different parts. Okay, so at the top there, you have TEF, which stands for the thermic effect of food. So that is the amount of calories that you burn by digesting and absorbing food, right? Absorbing the calories and nutrients from food. So that's just a small 10% of your total daily energy expenditure. Okay, obviously that shrinks if you eat less, right? Then we have your EAT, which stands for exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is the amount of calories that you burn doing intentional exercise. So obviously if you do no exercise at all, that can be 0%. So that can be none of the calories that you burn, because if you do none, you don't burn any calories, up to about 10% of your total daily energy expenditure. Then there is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that's all the movements that you do throughout the day that are not intentional exercise, right? So like, right now I'm talking, I'm burning calories because I'm talking. I'm moving my hands a little bit while I'm talking. I'm moving around a little bit. I'm burning calories, right? If I get up and I go and clean my kitchen or make a meal or something, I'll be burning calories doing that, et cetera, et cetera. And that makes up about 10 to 20% of the total amount of calories you burn in a day. And then lastly, we have your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And that's just the amount of calories required to keep up the bodily functions required to keep you alive, right? So your heart pumping, that's calories being burning, pumping blood throughout your cardiovascular system, your lungs, so breathing, your brain function. That also includes the muscle tissue on your body as well. Obviously muscle, it requires energy to continue to exist on your body, which is actually an important point as well. Okay, so that's your total daily energy expenditure. And then, so this is what body weight maintenance looks like. Okay, so if you're not losing any weight, your weight is just staying the same. This is what that looks like. Your energy intake is equal to your total daily energy expenditure, right? So pretty simple. So this is what happens when, this is what you would expect. This is what most people expect to happen when they try to lose weight, just simply by trying to exercise more. Okay, so basically you would think that you increase your exercise, so that creates a calorie deficit just via that increased energy expenditure. But here is what really happens. So what happens is, because you're going to compensate, right? So that increase in your exercise activity will be counterbalanced by unconscious compensatory decreases in your non-exercise activity. Okay, so you move more on purpose, but then unconsciously you move a little bit less throughout the day. Okay, I know maybe that might sound a little bit weird, but it's very subtle and it's very hard to control, right? Unless you're tracking like your total daily steps, which is something that I highly recommend for fat loss over doing cardio. This is going to happen very subtly. You're not going to notice it happen, and it's going to be hard to control. Okay, so that's one way that your calorie deficit will shrink if all you do is just add cardio and exercise to achieve your deficit. Another thing that'll happen, and this happens if you're not actively controlling your calorie intake, is you'll also unconsciously counterbalance that increase in exercise activity by increasing your energy intake. So if you're not closely tracking your diet, your calorie intake, and you increase your exercise activity, you're also going to counterbalance that increase in exercise activity by eating a little bit more. Okay. So I hope that that graphic was helpful and it makes sense, but that's point number 2. So if cardio is all you do to achieve your calorie deficit, you end up unconsciously compensating by eating more and moving less throughout the day, aside from when you're doing, obviously, the intentional exercise that you added, okay? The third reason that cardio sucks for fat loss, and this is a quick one because I basically already kind of covered it, but there is no such thing as the fat burning zone, and fasted cardio is no different than cardio in a fed state. So a lot of people, and this was including me in the past, do cardio because they have this idea that when you're doing cardio, your body, especially if you do it fasted, that you're burning fat, you're using fat stores as energy, okay? And while this is true, while if you do cardio a certain way and you keep your heart rate in a certain range, or if you do cardio fasted, it does actually increase fat oxidation at the time that you're doing the cardio, and also like a little bit after the time that you're doing the cardio. But that is a short-term result. So just because your fat oxidation increases while you're doing the cardio and a little bit after doesn't mean that your fat oxidation is higher overall throughout the day, throughout the week, right? So what happens is when you get into this fat burning zone or whatever, and you do cardio with your heart rate at a certain level, or you do cardio fasted, sure, your fat oxidation increases at that time and around the time that you did the cardio, but then it, just like with the compensatory effects of doing cardio alone, your body will compensate by lowering fat oxidation throughout the day and at all the other times that you're not doing the cardio. Okay, so that's reason number 3 that cardio sucks for fat loss. There's no magical fat burning effects of it. Again, this goes back to the first kind of point I made, which is the only reason cardio is helpful for fat loss is because it helps you achieve more of a calorie deficit. Okay. Which brings me to my last point why cardio sucks for fat loss, and that is that cardio can interfere with your weight training, and weight training gets you a far better return on investment. Now, the reason why weight training gets you a far better return on investment is because weight training helps you build muscle mass. And like I mentioned when I was talking about BMR, muscle mass adds to your BMR. So it increases the amount of calories that you burn on a daily basis at rest. So the more muscle that you put on your frame, the more calories you burn at rest. Not only that, but in comparison to cardio, so when you do cardio, really the only time that you're burning calories is as you're doing the cardio, right? With weight training, you're burning calories in 3 different ways, really. So you're burning calories, obviously, as you do the weight training. You're burning calories after you do the weight training because it takes calories for your body to repair the damage that you did to your muscles while you did the weight training. And then once you have added that new muscle mass to your frame, that adds to your basal metabolic rate, and that increases the amount of calories that you burn on a daily basis. Now, does cardio interfere with that? Not for most people, no. It takes a lot of cardio to actually directly interfere with the muscle building process. But on a very simple level, cardio can interfere with your weight training, right? So for example, I'll give you my own personal anecdote of when I used to do cardio. Like I said, I used to think that cardio was mandatory. So for that reason, because time and energy is finite, I would often cut my weight training short if I was short on time to get cardio in. So basically, I'm doing something that is not going to really affect my results, and I'm taking away time from my weight training, which really is going to produce results that give me a far better return on investment. So really, when I say cardio can interfere with weight training, all I mean is if you are short on time, and this is really the main reason why I believe that cardio is a waste of time for most people, is because your time, your energy is finite. So most people, you don't have that much time to weight train, right? You can maybe spend 30 to 90 minutes, maybe some people up to 2 hours in the gym. And if you feel like you need to do cardio, then simply that time that you feel you need to spend doing cardio is going to take away from your weight training time. So as simple as that, right? Now, when it comes to actual direct interference with your weight training, you need to be doing you need to be spending more than half the amount of time you do weight training doing cardio for it to directly interfere. So most people don't really need to worry about that because most people aren't going to be spending that much time doing cardio, right? But anyway, that brings me to the 6 bottom line takeaways from this video. So the first one is, if you want to achieve consistent and predictable results, you need to keep track of your daily calorie intake, right? So like I showed you with the that graphic that I made, if you simply add cardio without keeping track of your calorie intake, the effects of cardio, so the calories that you burn from that cardio, are going to be counterbalanced by increases in your energy intake, which will be very subtle, and also increases in your decreases in your non-exercise activity. So bottom line there is keep track of your calorie intake. Okay. Number 2, if your diet is on point, you do not need to do much cardio, if any at all. And if your diet is not on point, cardio will not help much. Okay. Number 3, the more cardio you add, the more the returns diminish. Okay. So again, this goes back to the graphic that I showed you. The more cardio that you add, the more that those compensatory effects of adding that cardio are going to take effect. Obviously, if you control your calorie intake, you completely mitigate that, but the decreases in your non-exercise activity will still happen. And that's the scientific term for that is metabolic adaptation, by the way. Okay. So number 4, if your time is scarce, you should prioritize weight training over cardio, and it's totally fine to completely sacrifice cardio altogether. Okay. Number 5, to ensure that interference does not happen, time spent doing weight training should be twice the amount of time spent doing cardio. So if you are going to do cardio, which like it was totally fine, just because I made this video doesn't mean you should cut out cardio completely. But if you're going to do cardio, don't do more than half the amount of time that you spend weight training doing cardio, and that will ensure that you limit the interference effect. Okay. And lastly, number 6, the biggest, and this is my personal opinion on cardio, the biggest benefit of cardio are the psychological benefits of it, right? So the best type of cardio for you is the type of cardio that you enjoy doing. So for me, those are just casual walks outside in nature, bike riding, getting on my longboard, playing hockey, doing recreational sports, stuff like that, going snowboarding, mountain biking, that kind of thing. And don't expect doing cardio to be a game changer for your results, for your fat loss results, because you're going to be disappointed, right? Because all it does is add to your calorie deficit. If you can achieve that calorie deficit by just by eating less, you're going to get the same results. Okay. So anyway, that's it for today's video. Remember that this channel is all about helping you get in and stay in the best shape of your life. And I share simple and in-depth information on fat loss, muscle building, nutrition, training, recovery, supplementation to help you do just that. So if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell to make sure that you do not miss my videos when I upload. And also, I'd really appreciate if you would leave a comment just to let me know what you thought of this video, ask me any questions that you may have, or let me know what you'd like to hear me talk about or cover in future videos. Also, if you would like to learn more about how I can personally help you in your physique transformation journey, make sure to check out the links in the description box below. And at that, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.